So, let me ask you, what does this uniform mean to you? Does it make you feel proud? Maybe depending on your experience, it makes you feel tense or uneasy. Now, be honest. Who's seen Top Gun? Battleship? A Few Good Men? Maybe all you know about this uniform is what you've seen on TV, and that's okay too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, hands up if you have a friend or family member in the Canadian Armed Forces. For you, this uniform may have a deeply personal meaning. I've had the opportunity with working with some of the finest Canadians around, outstanding mentors, leaders, and friends. I've had some incredible experiences, but the road hasn't always been easy. Today, I'm going to tell a few stories and talk about some of the important lessons I've learned. But despite what you felt when I walked out here in this uniform, I want to challenge your perspective. I want to show you that members of the Canadian Armed Forces are more like you than you think. We're your neighbors, your friends, the people sitting next to you on your morning commute. Ordinary Canadians who show up and occasionally get to do some pretty amazing things. So what does this uniform mean to me? Duty, loyalty, honor, adventure, and pushing myself farther than I ever thought possible. My grandfather was in the Canadian Army in the 1950s and 60s, and I have an aunt who served in Bosnia when I was in high school. My aunt is one of my heroes. I remember she used to send these incredible letters describing her experiences overseas. It was actually my aunt who suggested I should apply to the Royal Military College. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was not your average recruit. I went to high school for the performing arts. Yeah. I walked up to the recruiting center looking something like this. Yeah. I joined the Navy. I accepted an offer and joined the Navy as a naval warfare officer without knowing anything about the Navy. I joined at a time when the Navy was just beginning to develop a critical mass of women in what was called hard sea trades. These are those seagoing jobs that typically are associated with more masculine qualities. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people would have said the same thing about corporate banking, law, and medicine. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I experienced some serious culture shock. I was not a natural ship driver, but you know what, that was something I had to overcome, standing watch on a 5,000-ton warship with the safety and responsibility for 200 shipmates resting on my shoulder. So I served first in the ship on the left, Her Majesty's Canadian ship Algonquin. It's a destroyer, before specializing in above-water warfare and serving in the ship on the left, Her Majesty's Canadian ship Vancouver. In that role, I led a team of 20 sailors and was responsible for the tactical employment of the ship's above-water weapons and sensors, so the main cannon, the missiles, and the radar systems. For a time, I even held the record for most missiles fired in our fleet. Now, my husband likes to joke that either makes me a terrible shot or one of the best, but I'll let you decide on which one that is. In 2009, I decided to follow my passion for people and media. And I changed occupations. I became a military public affairs officer. My deployment to Haiti and Nepal was simply incredible. Here's my first mission to Haiti. I'll talk to you a bit about it. The team was literally catapulted into the world's largest human interest story when a 7.0 magnitude earthquake rocked the tiny Caribbean nation. As we embarked on this military C-17 aircraft that took us to Port-au-Prince, when we landed, the tarmac was teeming with international response teams from all over the world, and it seemed like the entire international press corps was there in Port-au-Prince. I couldn't have been more proud to have been part of Canada's response, there to provide assistance, relieve suffering, and save lives. If we just cycle through, we'll see another photo of some of the actions and some of the things. This is an aid distribution point in a village called Jacmel. Haiti taught me to value everything we sometimes take for granted here in Canada. It also taught me a valuable lesson about overcoming adversity and being comfortable in austere environments. And I also learned about how to find novel ways to get things done when you have very few resources available to you. 5 years later, I deployed to Nepal, again with Canada's disaster assistance response team, after an 8.0 magnitude earthquake rocked the tiny mountaintop kingdom. Now I want you to picture yourself in Nepal. You're in the Himalayas, literally at the top of the world, sandwiched between China and India. Throughout the deployment, I accompanied our medical teams, this is a medical patrol, and our engineers throughout the countryside as we toured and surveyed the landscape and decided how we could, or identified ways we could help. About halfway through our deployment, Nepal was struck with another 7.8 magnitude earthquake. At first, we all thought it was just another aftershock, but as the shaking and intensity increased, the lights all of a sudden cut out. And I remember hearing my friend Steve yell, "Everybody out!" And it was only once we got on the street that we realized the full extent of what was going on. The ground was literally rolling under my feet as though I was at sea. And I remember looking across the street and seeing a radio antenna on a building, and it was swaying back and forth as though it was made of rubber. We had convoys out on the streets. We had engineers in neighboring cities removing rubble and debris. Once everybody checked in and reported back that they were safe, the team quickly sprung back into action. We sent triage teams to the local airport and hospitals and resumed our other relief efforts with minimal delay. Now, the team that deployed to Nepal was simply incredible. Clerks, doctors, nurses, heavy equipment operators, firefighters, even geomatics techs. Everybody leveraged their personal and professional skills to pull together to deliver some pretty incredible effects. And I couldn't have been more proud to have been part of this team and to wear that maple leaf on my sleeve. Now, some people say there's no place for women and not a lot of room for diversity in the Canadian Forces. However, as an important national institution, the Forces, like Parliament, must represent the true diversity of Canadian society. The really exciting news is that a lot of us in uniform understand this based on some very important lessons from our recent operations, both at home and abroad. In Haiti and Nepal, for example, we deployed with Canadian sailors and soldiers of Haitian and Nepalese descent. These people helped us connect with members of the communities that we were sent to assist. So they forged trust and understanding, and we better understood what they needed so we could tailor our operations to better support their recovery. Now, the Canadian Forces has some pretty ambitious goals of increasing the number of women in the Canadian Armed Forces by 1% a year, so that 8 years from now, 1 in 4 members will be women. And there's similar programs to reach out to other underrepresented communities. So as we encourage young women and underrepresented groups to take on non-traditional roles in science and technology, let's also encourage them to consider a career in the Canadian Forces, because we truly are so much better when we have diverse views and opinions at the table. And while there are jobs at the pointy end of the stick, like my formal naval warfare career or in the combat arms, there are jobs and roles for everyone. And to those who might say there's some jobs women can't or shouldn't do, well, I'm sorry, you've already lost that debate. The Canadian Armed Forces has eliminated all boundaries to employment so that women and men with the right set of interests and skills can kick ass and take names in whatever career field they want. And while I personally didn't choose a career in the infantry or the submarine forces, some of my friends did. And I'm so proud to work for an organization that encourages people to pursue their goals. From doctors, lawyers, technicians, truck drivers, mechanics, it truly is a one-team concept. Now, my time in the forces has been a journey. I've learned, as Churchill once said, success is not final. Failure, it's not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. My journey has been an incredible adventure, made easier thanks to the support of an outstanding network of women and men. These Canadians, they consistently show that life is about embracing ambiguity, overcoming obstacles, and being brave enough to pick yourself up when you fall. What does this uniform mean to us? Bravery, commitment, sacrifice. Sometimes tested in big, bold, battle-tested ways, but most days, these Canadians show up. The men and women who wear this uniform were diverse groups from all walks of life with a range of experiences acquired at sea, on the battlefield, while delivering humanitarian assistance and championing Canadian values in far-off lands. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you, what does this uniform mean to you now? Thank you.